Good morning, everyone. It's 8 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m. Mountain Time. It's Saturday. It's December 9th, 2023. Tommy Goloff, your morning mayor in the house. Shaman Taubman, half man, half amazing, is in Kamloops, Canada. And
And the live.
a balmy 18 degrees when I drove in this morning.
There you go.
That's 100 below zero in metric.
It's cold here too, but no snow, no rain. We had some frost from a little dusting we had a couple of days ago, but nothing since August. It's just unbelievably dry.
Yeah, we've had a little snow, but not much. We usually always have pretty good snow by Thanksgiving, but we didn't get it this year. So I don't know what's going on. So anyway, Tom and Shane, we're here. We're making radio great again. Mental floss for your brain. We're this close to actual entertainment, and it's National Llama Day, Shane. And it's also, and this is a good one, Shane. It's international.
Okay.
It's International Anti-Corruption Day. So
Perfect.
So
Hunter should be calling in.
I was going to say, I wonder what Trump and the Bidens are doing today.
Yeah, exactly.
It's Christmas card day. Do you send out Christmas cards, Shane?
Of course I do.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't have your address, so I can't send you one.
Oh no. Well, I don't know. The mantle's full anyway now. So.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's also National Pastry Day, so I got to pick up something after the show. I guess I'll go get some bear claws or something. I don't know. Is that pastry?
Boston cream donut. Tim Hortons here.
That's what I need. So yeah. Well, and also Hanukkah started a couple days ago. Unfortunately, we don't have any Jewish listeners because we're on Saturday, and no technical stuff on Saturday. No phones, no laptops, no radios, no TV, none of that. So we'll still our Jewish listeners can listen on the replay. when they can open up technology again. But yeah, no technology on Saturdays for the Jewish folks. So we still wish them a happy Hanukkah as we move into that season, obviously. So yeah, well, yeah, beautiful day in the neighborhood. Well, the big news, I guess, Hunter Biden, Shane, you heard about that. 3 felonies, 6 misdemeanors, in addition to the firearms charge in Delaware, but spent millions of dollars on an extravagant lifestyle, easy for me to say, and forgot to pay his tax bills.
That's right.
Or paid them late or something. I don't know. I'm not sure if he got everything paid or not, but anyway. They got about $1.4 million in taxes that he owed during a period of time when apparently he didn't pay them. So,
well, the good thing is we got it right. We said he would get charged, and he'll probably get convicted, even with a jury trial. But the end result was the judge in Delaware, when we commented, we knew he was going before with this deal he had made after 5 years of an investigation. 5 years to get here. Wow.
Yeah, I know.
And and she looked at it and said, and then she started reading the agreement. And the amazing thing about this is that as the judge in court was reading the agreement that he had agreed to with your Justice Department. Now remember, this is his father's Justice Department.
Right.
She says to them, wait a second, have you ever seen a deal like this before? And the prosecutors that work for his father said, no, there's no precedent for this. Well, I'm throwing this one out. You guys obviously can't agree on anything here on this, so come back. Well, They came back, and now we know it's going to be. So.
All right. Well, yeah, if he's convicted, could receive a maximum of 17 years in prison. I doubt he'll get anything other than some kind of a fine. I seriously doubt he'll do any jail time.
No, he's going down. The only way he gets out of it is that, as I said to you before the show today, that to save his dad and his own butt, he tells everyone, actually, the big guy was Obama.
Well, yeah, should do that. Let's see what the callers have to say. 406-522-TALK is the number, 406-522-8255. Caller, you're on with the award-winning Tom and Shane. What's going on?
Good morning, you Swiss Army knives.
Good morning, young man.
How are you?
Terrific.
How's
Merry
Shane?
Christmas.
Thank you, and the same to you, gentlemen. You mentioned the indictment. Don't you find this rather good timing? That they're going to bring up these charges right before he has to appear before the House?
Yeah, we wanted to talk about that a little bit. They're debating. The Republicans want him behind closed doors. He claims he wants a public hearing. So I know why he wants to be in public. I don't know if you or Shane do.
Tom, I think all he can plead the Fifth Amendment. I mean, he could just sit up there and say, because he's been indicted, has these charges against him.
Yeah.
And I find it very curious, and Mark Levin made the point. They're telling you how much, he didn't pay in taxes, but where did this money come from? You see, that's the key, because that could, and Levin pointed to it, this could turn around, and somebody else mentioned it also on one of the talk shows, and I forgot who. This could turn around and be a violation of the FARA Act. If they know where all this money comes from. Now that's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's
That's
serious.
what they got Trump's. I'm sorry for interrupting you. That's what they got Trump's fellow
okay.
for, right? Was the foreign act of having to file and
Foreign agent. Yeah.
You're a foreign agent, and so that's an even bigger charge because they're individual charges. So.
Yeah.
Those are like 5-year charges for every failure to do so, and he'd have 6. You have a phone dead there, Thomas.
Yeah. No, I know.
That's just a dial tone. That's all part of a non-corruption day.
That's our Looney Tunes phone system, is what it is.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? You only get it. You get 1 day to be non-corrupt, but then 364 days you can be corrupt.
That's it. Yeah.
I find that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting too. This also comes up. They're on the verge of voting for the impeachment inquiry, and I think I would hope all Democrats vote for that. It isn't going anywhere, but I think all the Republicans should band together over something at least.
I agree. Tom, is the inquiry come up before the articles, or can you present the articles before there's an inquiry?
Boy, that I don't know.
Well, didn't they do that in the case of Trump?
Yeah, they can go for articles of impeachment at any time. They're slow mowing this, so it's a burning dumpster Biden fire from from now through the election because of what they've done to Trump and indicted him. So basically, the Congress is investigating him to impeach him, which gives them all the powers of the Congress and the continued investigation of any committee or all committees.
Yeah.
Once you get to an impeachment situation, it becomes a vastly different, thing. You create an impeachment committee and that's it. Everything else is sort of locked down for investigating. It's the same with the charges. I can't talk about this because I'm in the middle of
it's an ongoing. It's an ongoing investigation. Yeah. Well,
he doesn't have to plead the Fifth. He can just say I have nothing to say because this is an ongoing investigation.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he'll plead the Fifth. I think the reason he wants to be public with his testimony is that each person who questions him only gets 5 minutes, so he can pontificate all over the place for 5 minutes, and it's going to go nowhere. If he's in private, they've got a lot longer time to go after him. And that, of course, will be a transcript that will be released to the public.
Well, that's what they did to Trump's children. His three children went before these committees, and several, well, up to 8-9 hours
Mm-hmm.
over 2 or 3 days. And the other aspect is, you're absolutely right. If they have this committee hearing, they, as you said, they can ask all the questions they want. They can take all the time that they want. So, yeah, it's obviously, and we already know what he's going to say, because he spoke this week on a podcast and said, "I'm the victim. The Republicans are coming after me," which is just a joke, because it's not. It's his father's attorney general and justice.
His people are going after him.
Yeah.
Well, it's also interesting too that this comes up. This builds a fire under the impeachment inquiry, because as long as we've got Hunter in the news, let's keep Joe in the news. So the Republicans are going to take advantage of this before the primaries start, because they'd like to see Joe go down in flames in these primaries.
37 days to Iowa, number one. And Jerry, what is this with your president lying? What's your position?
With who? With who?
Biden lying constantly about all of this.
Well, he's pathologically been that way for quite some time. Listen to all the sound bites that people have gotten, presented over the years on all the talk shows. I mean, come on, he was a truck driver. He did this, he did that. It's just it's in his DNA. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I think.
That's it.
And it's a shame. It really is. That's why I firmly believe an inquiry is not the way to go. Just throw the articles out there. He's violated so much in the Constitution about how to keep the country safe and do what's best for the country. He's violated his oath of office. I mean, it's right there in the Constitution. And speaking of that, there was a texter last week who texted in, and he said I should read the Constitution. It was regard to the Santos matter, and I wish he would. I would like him to text or call back and tell me what part of the Constitution I'm supposed to read in regard to that. Because if you read Article 2, Section 4, it's very clear. It's a very short article, but it's due to impeachment. Or removal for high crimes and misdemeanors. Yeah. And none of these people have been convicted of that except for Bowden, who just got censored. And that's all he got, was censored for his pleading guilty to a misdemeanor. I emphasize that point. And I think Speaker Johnson expressed the same sentiments exactly. There's no equal justice right there, especially in the halls of Congress. So if that texter would please inform me what part of the Constitution, I'm willing to admit a mistake that this guy, unless it's House rules, Tom, there's probably some House rules that have that I don't know about, and I'm not there, so
true.
I might be ignorant of that fact.
All right.
But, hey, did you guys watch the debate?
We did watch the debate. I did anyway. I don't know if Shane did, but.
Well, Tom, do you think it was a debate, or what was it? From what I heard, it didn't sound like a debate to me.
Well, the best line of the night, Jerry, was from that ex-New Jersey governor that weighs about 360 pounds, when he pounded this podium and said that Trump wasn't healthy to run for president.
Wait a minute. What wasn't healthy?
Trump wasn't healthy.
He accused Trump of not being healthy enough to run for president. That was funny.
But did he mention that Mr. Biden is healthy enough to do so?
No.
Yeah, they didn't mention Biden much at all. That's the problem.
Okay. All right.
But look, George, I just think that impeachment is a political dead end for the Republicans. They're better to keep the dumpster fire burning with the investigation, and you have 5 or 6 committees that can talk about it on all the talk shows and all. I mean, the stuff they're coming up with is clearly overwhelming. So it's better to talk about all of it, because if you start an impeachment process, shut down the opportunity for any of these guys, congressmen, to go on TV and talk about it.
I agree, Shane. I agree, and I said this before. It's not worthwhile, because if you're going to do it, a whole cloth. Go for the articles. Forget the inquiry. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and if he
Otherwise,
loses the election, and if he loses, they can impeach him afterwards. I mean, they can impeach a president in office or out of office.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought he can be indicted after office, but not while he's in office.
Well, he can be indicted after he's out of office, but I'm talking about the Congress. If the Justice Department could indict him before, during, after, but not before.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's the same thing that happened to, your famous president of 92.
Bill Clinton.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
by the way, Jerry, I want your opinion on this. Did you see Putin's going to run again? Now, this is good. This is the 5th time he'll run for president of Russia, 6-year term. That's 30 years. Who was president when he first got elected? Clinton in 92.
Let me see.
The guy's been running Russia since 1992.
Yeah, think about it.
Isn't that incredible?
Why don't we interfere in their election? They interfere in ours, right?
Yeah, there you go. Jerry, I got to go. I got a call waiting.
Okay. Thanks for taking
Merry
my call,
Christmas,
guys.
sir.
Have a great weekend.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. All right. Caller, thanks for waiting. You're on the air with Tom and Jane. What's going on?
Good morning, boys and girls. And I'm telling you, Tom and Shane, I drank a whole cup of coffee waiting for you 3 guys to shut up.
Well,
I'm telling you. It was interesting, though. I got to say, boy, can you guys talk. Well, I guess that's talk radio, right?
That's right.
Well, good morning, everyone. I think one of the most important stories right now that we have to talk, and Tom, if there's a break, I'm going to ask, please, to let me continue what I want to say here. We just found out in the last few days that Joe Biden, behind the backs of the American people, has been making an agreement with the Pacific states of Washington and Oregon to breach dams on the lower Snake River. And this would just destroy our power independence in western Montana. And I have to say, it's outrageous. And I have contacted all of our state representatives on this. Now, I'm going to say something here, and I think that the solution is very easy here and right in front of our face. And there's 4 Indian tribes that are suing the government. They've been doing this for decades because they're mad about the salmon, cutting off the salmon and the steelhead fish. And the 4 tribes are the Yakima, which only amount to 10,000 people. We've got the Nez Perce, 3,500 people in that group. The Confederated Umatilla, 3,100 people. And the Warm Springs Confederation, 5,000 people. This amounts to about 21,000 people. And they want to destroy the dams. And, this area of western Montana that they want to flood there's wheat farmers there, and they produce 10% of our wheat exports, plus there's other people living in this, these river valleys. And the only people who can breach any dams is Congress. And I don't know what Biden's trying to pull here, but it's not going to work. And on December 15th, there's a federal judge, a liberal left-wing judge, who these whack jobs environmentalists had twisted around their finger. He's supposed to sign this. And I want to tell you about the cost of this. Breaching of the 4 dams on the lower Snake River and replacing the services would cost between $10.3 billion and $27.2 billion. And 21,000 people who are crabbing about salmon fishing and losing our independent powers. We have hydroelectric dams, and we have the cleanest and the most efficient electricity in the whole country, or the world for that matter. It's not worth it. And I'm going to say something that I've been saying for a long time. And State Senator Keith Regier, R-E-G-I-E-R, said the same thing this past January. It's time to maybe eliminate Indian reservations. And I want to make my point here because most of the people on them are mixed. They don't even know if they're so-called Native American or not. And there's so many conflicts. There's so much crime. And, they cost American taxpayers $20 billion a year, 326 reservations, and you never see any improvements. And I'd like to know where all this money is going and how it's being spent. And, of course, they really got upset when he suggested this idea, but I don't see why an audit of Indian reservations isn't warranted here. And I just think that it's time to eliminate them. This is the 21st century. And get them into, because I tell you, if they don't start incorporating themselves into the modern world, they're going to just become extinct. And and the crime rate is just astronomical. They can't control it. The Mexican cartel is taking over some of the reservations here in our state. And just give them the land that they're on and forget the reservation status. So I think that would help with this situation because they're using the same thing, our culture, our people, and blah, blah, blah. This is 19th and 18th century. We've heard all this before. We're in the 21st century now. Move on. And there's only one tribe in the country that's really doing very well, and that's the Navajo. And that's because they're in the 21st century. As a matter of fact, they work a lot with NASA. And NASA's been helping them with maintain their tribal languages and a lot of their customs and things. And Aaron Yazzie, he is a young Navajo mathematician who works for NASA, who had a lot to do with the rover that's on Mars right now. So I just think this is something that we all should consider and get on this story right now, because December 15th, that's not a whole bunch of time. As a matter of fact, our state senators and congressmen were just in total shock. So get on this story. It's not right. It's not fair. And we just can't do it.
All right. You got it done, Nancy. Thanks for the call.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom.
All right. All right, that's going to wrap it up for this first segment. We'll be back. We've still got to talk about Christie thinks Hunter will do jail time, and we've got to talk about the debate a little more and what to watch. Trump's calendar, trial calendar is coming up. We're going to talk about that. We'll be back with more Tom and Shane right after the news. Stay tuned. Don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. It is 27 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Saturday. It's December 9th, 2023. Tom and Shane in the house. Happy to be along with you today. Thanks for joining us. And for our text line, Shane, transcript. Nobody will read transcripts like nobody reads indictments or the Mueller report. Yeah, there we go.
Well, you're not supposed to. I mean, you elect people to do that.
Banging my mic here. I'm still waiting to hear what crime the so-called Biden crime family has committed. Hunter grifted some suckers, but is that illegal? Well, if he was acting as a state agent, it's very legal. Strongly suggest people Google Victor Shokin and why the Western world called for him to be fired before they claimed Joe Biden did it by himself. Okay. Well, we've gone over Victor months and months and months. And we don't care. What did Biden lie about? Discussing his financial dealings with his son. That's what he lied about.
Oh, and receiving money from his son and having money and information sent to his home address in Delaware for his son about his companies and letters from China and Ukraine. I mean, this list is so long. It's almost too much. Yeah. To even talk about, right? That's how bad it is.
What did Biden lie about? His grifter son would call dad to help his grift, but there's no evidence at all that Biden had any financial ties to his son's grift. Well, not yet, maybe, but...
Well, that's because even CNN announced, that Hunter Biden was indicted, and MSNBC did. All the networks did. But then they backed, his father, and well, his father's not part of the indictment. His father has nothing to do. It's just his son. Well, if it was just Trump's son, can you imagine what they would be saying? Like, seriously, let's put the shoe on the left foot. No, the right foot. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Shane is mocking a man over his weight. For the record, Christie never said anything about Trump's health. The question was, is he fit in light of his actions? And reminder, econ news this week: unemployment record low, stock market records high, domestic oil production all-time high, driving down gas prices. So it's not what's driving down gas prices, but
No,
that
they
is
haven't gone
supply
down
and
in
demand.
California.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they're still $6 to $8 in California, depending on the blend, right?
Right. Well, because they have all theirs trucked in and they have special blends. So, yeah,
That's right.
it's more expensive to make. Yeah. Well, for
Yeah.
people who may not know, be aware of that. So, yeah, we're under $3 a gallon here, Shane. Excuse me. So let's go, Brandon. Regarding dams, Nancy needs to calm down. Presidents don't have that authority. Well, she didn't say they did. Excuse me. She said that Congress had the authority. And
Well, Congress does, but they're under the oversight of the Army Corps of Engineers, which we
Right.
talked about a lot because
Yeah.
of the border. And the bottom line is, it would. I looked into it. It did a bit of a dive, and the dams that they're talking about would require anywhere from 6 months to a year for them to properly lower before this could happen. So, because it's a federal issue and they're under the auspice of the Army Corps of Engineers, it would be Congress's duty to pass legislation ordering them to destroy them. So, not going to happen.
well, yeah, because of the money. You got to appropriate the money, and all money bills start in the House. So,
That's right.
and the Senate would have to probably go along with it as well. So, Indians have some modern casinos. They're their own nation. That's very true. John Stossel did a YouTube a couple of years ago. It's probably still up somewhere. That the reservations that don't depend on the government have their own banks. They're doing very well. They don't have the crime problem. They don't have the drinking problem. They don't have the drug problems that the other reservations do, that are entirely supplied by the government. So,
And if I may, the real issue here has always been the tribal council that, of course, runs the individual tribes' money.
Yeah.
And the tribes that aren't doing well, it's because the council is basically paying themselves off. And, not, it's sort of like government. They legislate money and they don't either they don't spend it or they spend it on something else.
Yeah, there you go. From our text line, 406-478-8298, impeachment committee equal witch hunt to damage Biden. Well, I would say I disagree with you a little bit, Shane. I think they should bring this impeachment inquiry, and I'll tell you why. Because we've got primaries coming up. If it goes nowhere, that's fine. If it doesn't go anywhere, that's fine. But it'll still be in people's minds when they go to vote. So,
well, I agree with you. That's not what I said. I said to impeach him would be a political disaster because it would create a problem where the Democrats could take the argument that, they're delaying legislation and they're interrupting the operation of government. An impeachment hearing, which we saw what happened with Trump twice, is basically it shut everything down, which was great for the Democrats because they didn't have to do anything.
yeah.
They were in charge of the House and the Senate, but they couldn't do anything because they were in this process called impeachment. So, yeah, the inquiry should go on, and the dumpster fire should keep feeding the fire. Let everybody find out what really went on.
Yeah, I would still think they should go ahead with impeachment. If the inquiry goes, I think they should go full bore after it. It won't go anywhere because of the Senate, obviously. But still,
so there's no point doing it.
Well, it's still on the record. You still got Trump impeached twice, and everybody calls that up. So
no, but it then becomes a political benefit to the Republicans to tell the American people you need 2/3 of the Senate to vote for impeachment. So it's not going to happen because the Democrats are going to support Biden. And it gets back to this issue of a global war. The only way that if Biden stays in the race is you end up in a war and he becomes a war president. And the global war now just heated up this week, in Northeast South America. Oh, isn't that amazing? What two countries? Oh, yeah. Ghana, and what's that other country? Oh, Venezuela. Oh, well, that's interesting because guess what's right off the shore on the coast of Venezuela? Oh, it's an American territory called the Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All this is not good. And then you have a very disparaging John Kirby on Wednesday. Now he's the national security advisor to Biden, and he got up in the White House press room, and he stated right there. He said, if Ukraine falls, Putin may attack the eastern part of NATO, and of course, when asked now since October 7th about the IDF, he would always answer questions to him about hypothetical questions. He said, I won't hypothetically speak to what's next after the Israeli Defense Force is finished. But in this context, he hypothetically jumped in on Wednesday and told the world that if Putin takes over Ukraine, he's going to attack NATO. Now, if that isn't someone standing up for war, in your country to make Biden a war president, I don't want to be right about this, Thomas, but it's not looking good, buddy.
Yeah. And
on top of that, you have all these issues. For 60 years, your country fought a war on drugs. Remember that? We got to, and didn't go anywhere. Well, now you're in the middle of a drug war, and that's also part of this global war that I've now brought up. It's my my point of view.
All right. Republicans want to delay the so-called impeachment inquiry. They don't want it to end. If they impeach him, Dems will put up a better candidate. That would be true. Yeah. If they can get Biden out, that opens the door for Newsom.
Yeah, great choice.
Who needs to read when we have talking heads to think for us? Well, there you are, Shane. It's our pleasure to think for you. It's our job.
Well,
it's our job.
It is, but it's an effort to balance it out in the context of what's being provided or said, and we enjoy doing that because, as I said, we both have a point of view.
Yeah. James Comer's been promising to show us evidence against Biden, yet he never, because then we could review it and it would show how stupid the evidence is. Well, I don't know. How many checks have they shown, Shane? Made out to Joe and made out from Joe and to Donald, his brother, and everybody else. How many checks have we seen?
Well, the whistleblowers were before Congress again this week. The IRS investigators, and they released more information. They have now some 80,000 emails from Hunter Biden and his dad with a synonym, email account, where your Vice President Biden at the time was, or had been Vice President, whatever. Was in contact with Hunter Biden and all of his business partners, and it's a pretty overwhelming issue of evidence that they're coming up with, and they have more to release. They're playing it politically correct, dribs and drabs. Don't dump it on everybody all at once. Just keep letting out more and more information.
Yeah,
add to the fire.
Yeah. What do you think is driving down gas prices if not increased domestic production? We are in a holiday season and demand is high. No, it isn't. If demand was high, the prices would be higher. There's no demand. That's why the prices are coming down. And also, don't forget, and we're going to talk about this later in the show, analysts find Americans need an extra $11,400 to afford the basics. 11,400.
Right. And the other incredible thing that happened this week that confirms what we've been saying is that China's market and manufacturing and is collapsing, and now Mexico is the largest trader with the United States. China has dropped below Mexico.
Yeah.
As I said, this is getting to be a very difficult situation for the Chinese government, and it's only going to get worse. And the issue about the price of gas isn't that it's at a terrible price as much as this week you topped 13.5 million barrels a day of production. Mm-hmm. So you're only at just over 16 million barrels a day of consumption, down from 18, from 4 years ago. So, yeah, it's one of these issues that you look at, and it's a combination of things that you need to look at to see the entire picture.
Yeah. Let's take a phone call. 406-522-TALK is the number, 406-522-8255. Caller, you're on with the award-winning Tom and Shane. What's going on?
Well, this is the old guy, Clint, calling the two radio personalities. Good ones, too.
Well, thank you, sir. We're happy to have you on the show. What's going on?
Oh, I'm trying to brag you up here. We're going to get more calls today, what I got to say here.
Okay. Let's hope so.
Well, as you know, I'm going to talk about taxes. And I want to know how much more taxes we're going to have to pay on this second round of the Supreme Court decision to the county again. And this county, I guess, is taking in about $58 million. Am I right, Tom?
Well, it's pretty close, yeah. They take in a pretty good piece of change.
We're the richest county in the state, right?
I would say so. Granite County has a higher tax rate than we do, but I think we have more population.
Yeah. Well, the millage here, the difference between 74 mills and 94.
Yeah,
95.
they're paying the 90 up there.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. But anyway, on a house, here's what I got to say about that. I think I don't know what your house, did your house taxes go up, Tom?
Well, I got rid of my house in Bozeman, and I live in a house with Michelin's now, and my taxes are about $400 a year, so it's no big deal.
No, did it go up?
It hasn't risen appreciably, maybe $10-15, but not hundreds or anything like that. Yeah.
I got friends that are paying $20,000 and $30,000 a year in taxes to Gallatin County.
Oh yeah.
And I got other friends that's paying about $1,300 a month, and their taxes. Most of the taxes out here went and doubled in some places on the land. Mm-hmm. And what I want to say is this here: we're going to protest this here. I am, and I'm going to come in and see Scott if this next deal comes out and we get this we're going to get another tax besides what we've already paid. You follow me?
Yeah. I reached out to Scott. I left him a message, never got back to me. I left a message for Greg Gianforte. Nobody got back to me from that. We had Jeff Krause in last week. I don't know whether you heard that or not, but Jeff was here. Yeah, Jeff was here, kind of explained a lot of this tax situation. But, it's a mess for a lot of these folks out here, that, as I just pointed out, it's costing us $11,400 a year just to live the life we lived on less than $11,400 a year.
Well, the thing that's happened, the people to blame is the legislature. It isn't the people that's out here reappraising your places and stuff like that. They're ordered by the legislature to do that.
Yeah.
So our problem isn't with the governor. It's with the legislature, the Senate and the House.
Yeah, they make the deals, and the governor signs it or vetoes it.
That's
Either
right.
or. Yeah.
That's right. Well, here's my proposal. If these taxes come back, I don't know how much more we're going to have to pay, but I'm going to come and see Scott, and I'm going to put an ad in this radio station for everybody to come to a certain place so we can all meet, and I want the legislators to come too. And I don't know if we get a building big enough to hold all the people, but we're going to talk about this. I'm sick and tired, and I've talked to a lot of people that are sick and tired of paying these taxes like we're doing and letting all these people come into this country We're just sick of all of it. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to try to address this legislature and these reappraisal people at the Department of Revenue our problems. Because I've talked to people that are going to have to sell their homes, Tom, and leave this country that they built. They built this country.
Yeah.
And so it makes me madder than hell to see people flooding in here, and all these houses being built and everything else. You'd think all them big houses and apartments are going to pay more taxes, and everything. And they'll say, well, they have got more sewer, more water. Well, I can address that. Jeff Krause addressed it last time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, what's happened here? The more people come in, the more taxes you collect, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Yeah. Well, when it's finished, they can't do it really until it's finished, but they collect a lot of taxes, and the contractors do all the work, hooking up and everything else, and the city charges them for that. And the county don't, but the city. But we're paying two taxes, city and county. And it's come to a head. I've talked to so many people, Tom, out here in the valley, and they're so sick and tired of paying all these taxes and getting nothing for it. And on the left side of that tax sheet, there's about 35 or so different damn things that we're paying for that we don't need other than schools. Now, out here in Montforton wants to build a new school. There's no land out here other than what Andy Leap's kids has got to build the damn school. Okay, we can't afford another school. We're taxed to death now. I hope these people are listening to what I'm saying. And anyway, I'm going to put an ad in the television, and I'm going to put an ad in the newspapers, and I'm going to try to get the people come to a certain place where we can all meet and discuss what we're going to do with the legislature. And we'll all go to Helena, or we'll elect some spokesman for us that'll represent us, and go to Helena and address this legislature to get these taxes reduced. And the Supreme Court of the state of Montana doesn't have the rule over the majority of the people, I'll guarantee you that. The majority of the people of this state have the last say, not the Supreme Court of the state. They're the ones that put the people in the Supreme Court. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. I don't know what's happening in Canada up there with Shane and his folks. What's going on up there, Shane?
How's your property taxes?
We have the same issue here. It's difficult here because we don't have, as in most cases in the country, urban areas that are one city. Ours are broken up into different areas, different parts. So that makes it even more complicated. But yeah, provincially, people with large homes like you're talking about, 6 to 15,000 square feet are paying $25,000 to $50,000 in property taxes. But if you have a home like that, you can afford those taxes. And that's why we tell everyone 85 to 87% of all taxes, state, local, county, federal, they're all paid by, the top 10%. No one wants to say that, but that's the truth.
Well, you're right, Shane. All you got to do to see what I'm talking about, our schools are becoming government schools. That's the 10th plank of the Communist Manifesto. Okay? That's the 10th plank of it. Now they're trying to get it so that abolition of all property through taxation. That's why we left England. That really.
Well, if I may be so bold as to suggest, you might want to get your group together and with a person that represents you in the legislature to help you put together a bill that says no one over 65 pays property taxes. It's a one-page bill. That's it.
Well,
or 60. Anyone 60. Pick an age. And say, when you reach this age, you don't pay property taxes anymore. There's no way that a retired person whose greatest asset is their home that they've spent their life paying for should have an issue with the state and have to pay property taxes that they can't literally afford because they're not working anymore. So, one page legislation, it make it real hard for them not to pass it and your governor not to sign it. Politically, that's the way I would deal with it. What do you think, Tom?
Well, what's happening here is these folks that have built their homes here in Bozeman and in the valley and paid for them, and are retired and drawing Social Security, which they paid into for years. My Social Security went up $4. Okay, there's no way in hell that their Social Security will keep up with inflation to buy groceries, to pay their taxes and everything else. They only have
that's
so
what I'm
much.
saying. It's a political issue you're bringing up, and I'm giving you a political solution that they can't argue no to. So, one page bill put before the session by a representative that you know is on your side. Simple, easy. That's the way the system works. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah.
We got it. Not just one representative. We want the state legislature to listen to the people. And I'm going to go, what I intend to do is when this last bill comes, I don't know what kind of a building we're going to need, but we're going to need a big building. Now, I want all these legislators and senators from this county to be there. We're going to address what is happening to us, and those folks are supposed to, I want them to go to the other legislators in the various counties and get together and say, we're full up of this crap that you're doing to us.
Got to go, Clint. I got to go. Thanks for the call.
And that's what I got to say, Tom.
All right, man. Thanks for the call. All right.
You bet.
We come back. I will tell you my tax thing on property taxes, and Shane's going to get a glass. So we'll be right back. 7 minutes after the hour of 9 a.m. Mountain Time. It's Saturday. It's December 9th, 2023. Tommy Goloff, your morning mayor in the house. Shane Matobin, half man, half amazing, is in Kamloops, Canada. And we are having a high old time here. Shane, my thoughts on property taxes. I agree with you. I think people over 65, particularly in Montana, should not have to pay any state tax, certainly, state income tax. My proposal has been for years that if your property produces taxes, or if it produces income, then you should pay property taxes. If your property is producing income, you got money coming in, you should pay you should pay property taxes.
Because you're paying tax on the income, so it's a double tax now.
Well, I understand that, but you're still, you're still making income from your property, so you should pay taxes.
You're retired. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be taken away from you, and you shouldn't be damaged for it when you're retired. Yeah. Simple one page. The House is controlled by the Republicans. The Senate is too, and you got a governor that's a Republican. How do they vote against a one-page document that says anyone over 60, I'd say 60, they don't pay any property taxes or income tax, period. Okay. That's it. Done. Right. You're done. Yeah. You paid them for 60 years, you're finished. Yeah. How could the Republican Party in your state say no to that? It's a great political and social issue solved, and it would be a great one page resolution for both houses to pass and your governor to sign. That's how you solve this.
Yeah, but with my proposal, anyone who's a property owner wouldn't have to pay any property taxes, regardless of their age.
Either proposal, yours or mine, is still going to take the legislature to pass.
Well, it will, sure, of course.
The governor to sign it. So
that goes without saying. You can't just
you can't say that without saying, because some people may not realize how simple it is that are listening.
Well, the simple thing is, if your property produces income, then you pay taxes. If it doesn't, you don't. And over a period of time, obviously, the state would lose money if some of the 30 to 40-year-olds aren't paying income or paying property taxes. So the property that produces taxes would be taxed slightly higher, and over a 10-year period, it would balance out because the homeowner would have more money. Get a glass, will you please? That crackling thing just doesn't get it. I appreciate it, but yeah, it's not good. So, yeah, and you'd officially own your property. You know, no one could come and take the property away from you for taxes. So we'd be the only state in the union where you would actually own your home, because every state in the union, every home in America, you pay lot rent. It's that simple. So,
Agreed.
there we are. So can't make it any easier than that. So, well, guess what, Shane? The Republican lawmakers, they want to call out Biden because Americans need an extra $11,400 just to afford the basics of just subsistence living. Colorado, it's $15,000 a year they have to pay compared to what they paid January 1st in 2021. So $11,400. That's almost $1,000 a month, Shane, that people have to have more of.
Which is primarily the result of two things: the Federal Reserve raising, interest rates, and inflation. So, it's a terrible thing, but basically mortgage rates are at 7% and inflation's at 15%. So, as the great President Reagan would say, the misery index in your country right now is 22%.
Yep. Yeah, it isn't fun. And that's one reason why gas prices have come down, because people aren't driving as much because they owe $11,400 a year on other stuff. So they're not making trips they don't have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And as we've said for years, and even last week, when it becomes a decision between what you need and what you want, discretionary spending by the American people is primarily based on what they need. And the wanting isn't as great this year, but they're still out there spending $550 to $700, estimates, $550, $700 on Christmas. So it's holding up the economy and the global economy, because you're the largest consuming economy in the world. And Americans make your country work as much as the government makes it difficult for them to try and survive. I shouldn't laugh. It's nothing to laugh about. It's very difficult.
Yeah. Well, 67% don't see any signs the economy has started to turn the corner, and most Republicans, 84%, and independents, 77%, agree with that. Only 29% of voters believe the economy is doing just great.
Well, COP, the annual meeting that they have about the environment and climate change. Of course, you're going through climate change. The planet does this, every 11 years based upon sunspots. And it's a science that's been around since the, 16th century, and everyone wants to deny it. No one wants to talk about it. It's wrong for it's wrong for Trump to call it a hoax. It's not a hoax. It's just, let's misdirect everybody. And the interesting aspect about it is nothing was resolved, and the majority of the people at this meeting are, basically consumers of oil and or producers, and that's why you're not going to get anything. You and I have agreed for 12 years, planes, trains, and automobiles need to be run with something else. We've gone through this cycle now for almost 10 years of electric vehicles, and it doesn't work because it's not cost efficient. It's really amazing, because Detroit's gone now, because for 50 years they went on a principle that people would replace their car every 4 years, and then the Japanese came along and started producing cars that would be good for 10, and that changed as a matter of fact. So you have to find something else that'll drive the global economy, and we've been talking about it, and it's coming slowly, faster actually than I thought it would.
Yeah. What part of record domestic oil production do you not understand? This Thanksgiving saw record travel. What part of record travel do you think lowers demand? Well, we're not talking. If Shane and I were a national show, I'd agree with you. But we're not a national show. We talk about Bozeman, Belgrade, Livingston, Manhattan, and Three Forks, and Big Timber. And that's the people that we're talking about are driving and the demand in those areas. So it doesn't matter what Thanksgiving did, how many people flew, how many people drove, whatever. What we're talking about is the demand here. And if people are not pulling up to the pump as often, then the price goes down. I mean, it's economics. It has always been that way since gas was 10 cents a gallon.
Well, that's true. And because not only because of the oil your state produces, and the cost of oil being delivered to your state, you have 4 refineries. Very few states in your country have refineries, and certainly no states, comparably with population, have four refineries for 1 million people. I mean, it's Montanans are you're blessed. And there's just every business in your state is run very well. Industry in your state is run very well. And for the most part, on a statewide basis, people have the government they elected, which keeps these costs down more than most states. So it's a great reprieve to be able to live where you do that's so beautiful and to be able to enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Tom's plan is a big business tax. Increase prices to pay, drive businesses out of the state where it's cheaper. Well, you're going to drive businesses out of the state when you've got customers here. That doesn't make sense. I don't know. As a business owner, Tom's plan puts school burden on me instead of parents who are causing costs to educate their kid. Well, I don't have any rugrats in school, and I don't mind paying for schools because it's to my benefit to have an educated population.
Well, of course it is. That's the only way a republic and a capitalist society can operate and be successful is new generations of individuals that can create, invent, and have an imagination to help adapt and change and be able to accelerate the growth, within their state even. Yeah. You have political leaders, your junior senator and your governor. Look at the technology companies they created. I mean, it's a wonderful reality to see such things happen, and then for them to want to serve the state that they've done well in. The only reason you don't have more industry in Montana is because of the distance to transport and bring everything in to produce something and then move it back out to deliver it. Yeah. It's not located for that benefit. The cost of rail costs of shipping or 18-wheel shipping or even flying, is just too expensive. So, and to a large degree, you're like, Canada. So you're a commodities-based economy, and it's very efficient. Yeah, it's certainly more efficient than our country.
Solution to Clint high taxes is to eliminate socialized education, as we didn't have to pay K-12 education, or taxes would be 10% of what they are now. So, yeah.
Well, that's also based on a generation issue. The millennials, again, produce more children or babies than our generation, the baby boomer generation. So 85 to 2005, that during that 20-year period, 73 million babies were born. So that's why you have the education issue that you have, and that's a good thing. It's just regrettable that in I'm going to say this, but I probably shouldn't. In non-binary states, public education is better and run, and the teachers teach. And we already know the numbers. We've seen them. Yeah. And That's the issue, is these teacher unions not seeing the teachers' responsibilities are fulfilled, and that's a very difficult thing to overcome because it's a political one as well, right? It's a political issue.
Yeah. Why would I open a business in Montana when taxes are cheaper elsewhere? Sorry, Tom, your plan is anti-biz. Well, why would you open in San Francisco or Los Angeles or San Diego, which are the three of the top 10 most expensive places on the planet to live? So,
well, not only that, but
sorry,
theft.
that doesn't float. Yeah.
No.
Gas prices are nationwide or down. National demand is up. Face it. Demand isn't up. Sorry. Not here anyway. Otherwise, we would have
and during
higher
holiday
gas prices.
seasons,
Yeah.
of course, and during holiday seasons, of course, demand's up, and that's another reason why during those peak periods, the price of gas goes up because there's more demand for it. But they're not long. You know, people aren't taking long trips. To some degree, the air industry, is coming back, and the third quarter numbers for Boeing and their 737 deliveries are obviously very significant, and everybody's getting back to around 95% of pre-COVID numbers flying, but it's still it's even more expensive than it was 4 or 5 years ago to fly. But the bottom line is, most people in Montana, because of the prosperity that exists there, find themselves visiting family because they've chose to stay or move to a larger city, from rural to Bozeman or Billings or Flathead or whatever. So that's where they drive, and it's a nice thing.
Yeah. There's a climate changing event not discussed. Happened not quite 2 years ago. Will warm the planet for a decade or so. The Hunga volcano has sent me a link to a NASA website discussing it, and went off under the below the surface of the ocean, 400 feet below. So, don't know if it'll affect anything, but
well, again, this is something that paleontologists, anthropologists, archaeologists, meteorologists, they all know what the answer is, and we're in the sunspot cycle of 11 years of a maximum where there are more sunspots, and so that it's a danger to our planet in that a powerful sunspot could shut us all down because of the danger of the radiation that it creates. But on the other side, it heats our planet and keeps us from being an ice planet. So they don't want to talk about it in terms of climate change, and that's why they've gone 180 degrees around from 20 years ago to where they are. Climate change has to be dealt with. Well, look, your country deals with climate change and has for 100 years. When there's a tornado or a hurricane or a natural event that occurs, you resolve it. The federal government steps in, and you have all these agencies and budgeting to allow for the states to rebuild. So it's good. It's good for the economy in one way, but it can be devastating for people. What's remarkable is in your country, when you have these natural events, so few people die. I mean, when you look at what happens in other countries with these events, the number of people who die is, it's quite significant. So just really quick, in October of this year, there were 115 sunspots to that point, and that was what was predicted, and it's been 109. So 365 days a year, you're looking pretty close to a major sunspot occurring, every 3 days. Now, that can occur on any side or anywhere on the sun, and they have satellites to keep and record all these sunspots. But it's an active participant in climate change that's a natural event. So this sunspot 11-year cycle is in the 7th year. So we have, as I said a couple of weeks ago, 4 more years, and then it'll go into a minor. Well, there'll be fewer sunspots, and it'll get cooler. Yeah. But you look at these forecasts, and you look at the weather in Europe and across Eastern Europe, it's cold.
Yeah.
And if you look at the range of moisture across the Pacific, from northern Pacific to the southern Pacific, it's incredible the amount of moisture being occurred. So when the fresh water comes out of the sky into the oceans, these events that you talked about, that someone sent you an email to check on, that's what results in that, because the oceans hold about 70% of the CO2 in the planet, so at different depths.
Yeah. Oil production is way up. Demand is not down. So the oil companies, for some reason, have stopped gouging us, like you were complaining about, a year and a half ago, about how the gas companies were just gouging the hell out of the consumer. What happened? What happened between now and then? So please get a glass. Please, for the love of God,
Oh, I'm
get
sorry.
a glass.
I forgot to grab it by the top of the bottle.
Well, wherever you grab it. Let's see. Gas prices went up when Biden started canceling pipelines. Well, that's certainly true. A lot of people were concerned that moving green would make a difference, and also too, the oil companies may be fighting against global, or not global warming, but the electric vehicle situation.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the problem is that we talked about this last week, and a hybrid right now is the most popular car in your country because it sells for around 41,000 K, while a similar electric vehicle is around 51,000 K.
Yeah.
And the number of new cars in your country sold in 2023 is way down.
Yeah.
And that's because the used car market is incredibly strong. And sorry, they're all carbon-based cars.
Roar text line 406-478-8298. You're wrong, Tomboy. Well, I don't mind being wrong.
About what?
About my property tax proposal.
Oh, your property tax.
Yeah. So there we are. If you eliminate certain property tax revenues, where do you find those dollars to operate goods and services? Well, the properties that produce income would pay more, and the people who don't pay property taxes would have more money to buy the goods and services of the higher priced products and services. It's a wash.
Or the government, or your state government can cut the budget, right?
Yeah.
And the result of that is a better standard of living overall.
Yeah. If you don't live in your house 7 months a year, your property taxes should be 2% higher than if over 70. No taxes, Paul. All right, Paul, I agree with you. No taxes over 70. So definitely no taxes over 80.
No taxes over 65.
Yeah.
60 actually.
Yeah.
People should be able to prepare for retirement, so 60 should be the number.
Yeah, they paid for school with the mill levies and other things, by the way. So,
and that's individually on a county and city basis, right?
Yeah. All right, that's going to wrap it up. Coming up at 10:30, we're going to talk with Rick Holden, who is running for Congress, and we'll be chatting with him from 10:30 to 11. So stay tuned for that. And more of your stuff here. We still got a lot more to talk about. We haven't talked about the debate yet, and what to watch on the Trump's trial calendar. We need to get to those things, so we'll try and get that done the next half hour or so. So don't go away. We'll be right back with more right after the news. 27 minutes before the top of the hour. It is Saturday. It's December 9th, 2023. Tommy Gulloff, your morning mayor, in the house. Shane Taubman, half man, half amazing, in Kamloops, Canada, making this a official international talk show. So, which there are few of, and I would bet we're the only one in Montana. So,
yeah, I don't know any others anywhere else. I do look on the net for them.
I don't know too many that are international. So.
No, not with two hosts. I mean,
yeah,
lots of people have podcasts. They talk to people from other countries.
Oh, sure, yeah. Well, let's.
Nobody has.
Huh?
Nobody has two clowns talking like us.
That's true. There you are. Let's take a phone call. 406-522-TALK is the number. 406-522-8255. Caller, you're on with Tom and Shane. What's going on? Are you there? All right. Guess not. All right. From our app chat line, AM 1450 KMMS on your smartphone, fuel numbers. Remember, there's 1 million more electric cars and trucks on the road and 1 million more hybrids that use less fuel on the road, says last year. So there's going to be less fuel tax revenues to state and the federal. So there you are.
True.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from on the property that produces income. The only problem is that's why rents are so high in Bozeman. Property owners must pass along all of these property taxes to the renters, and that's true. They do. Yeah, that's an issue, no question about it.
It is.
And rents are tied to home prices, which elevate property taxes. So whether you have my program or not, the renter's going to pay more if the prices of property increase.
Well, and it's a terrible cruelty because it's a form of tax.
Yeah.
I think the last time I checked, 48 states have laws that grant renters to raise their rent if their taxes increase.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is another issue that you have with this tax increase on properties that are income properties, is that the person providing the rental place, is allowed to be protected for costs. And it's not that that's wrong, but that's the cause of the price of rents going up.
Yeah. Your business tax plan sounds like Bernie Sanders wrote it. Well, let me just say, those greedy business owners that are gouging you for their products and services aren't paying their fair share. So there.
Like Hunter.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, well. Yeah, I don't think the legislature is going to listen to my plan. But I think it would work. But anyway, what do I know? Well, if I was smart, I wouldn't be here.
That's very good.
I'd be in the Caymans or somewhere. Let's see. Let me explain this to you. Companies like Kohl's and Costco are running on thin margins. If you add millions of dollars more and property taxes, they will close. Why is it fair to assess businesses who already pay the bulk of property taxes with paying it for the education system when they have nothing to do with it? Yeah. Good points.
Indeed.
Yeah. I'm glad people are listening and responding to that. So.
That's good. That's a good thing. Yeah, we got to thank everyone for all the downloads last week. It was a record number, and we're really grateful for that. That puts a gold star on our calendar.
Yes, it does. We like it when we get downloads, people listening, and all of that stuff. So that's makes us feel like being here is worth it. Sometimes.
Well, we know from the competition that people are listening, so that's a good thing.
Sure, yeah. We talked briefly about the debate. Who do you think won and who do you think lost, Shane, in the debate Wednesday night or Thursday, whenever it was? Wednesday night.
Trump won.
Yeah,
and I think that Nikki Haley lost. Whether everybody was either going after her or supporting her.
Yeah.
But that's who the target was on the stage was her. And DeSantis is basically falling. And Rivik is it? Or he's turned out to be worse than Trump. I mean, if people didn't like Trump, texting all the time, can you imagine listening to him in the press room every day instead of because that's what he'd do. He'd go out and talk to people in the press room every day. That wouldn't be good.
Yeah. Well, the Hill news organization that reports on Capitol Hill, they felt DeSantis was the winner. For the first time in 4 debates, he looked like the candidate his campaign had promised he could be, and made a especially strong finish in the first half of the debate. So I tend to agree with you, Shane. He's probably the best choice of the 4. But
who?
DeSantis.
Really? You think so? Okay.
Well, who do you like better? Ramaswamy?
I don't like any of them.
Well, I don't like any of them either, but if the 4 are there, but if I had to pick one of the 4, which I would, DeSantis would be my choice, I think.
Oh, okay.
Well,
the thing I think that was really damaging was the highlighting of the money that Nikki is getting from Democrats.
Yeah.
To try and help her. It's interesting how your media is trying to play this, but we'll find out in 37 days when Iowa has their primary, and the Democrats, of course, aren't having one, and we still don't know the result of the Democratic primary in Iowa, which is rather odd, and and then of course New Hampshire, and that's followed by South Carolina. But the interesting thing is going to be March 5th, Super Tuesday, because Trump will have started his case the day before.
Yeah.
So that's it's just the irony of all of this is the big kick I got this week was Hunter Biden claiming he's a victim, and Trump doesn't even have to say anything. They just keep making it in. I mean, Trump is playing the Biden card, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, he's not in the business. He's not in the basement. He's in court. But it's basically the same thing.
Yeah. Well, Nikki Haley, she did not suffer any disasters, but plainly her weakest debate performance so far. In the 3 previous encounters, she was the central figure, setting the agenda and turning opponents' attacks to her advantage. Wasn't the case in this debate. I thought Ramaswamy was a little... I don't know, swarmy, I guess, holding up the Nikki's corrupted, sign. And I don't think Chris Christie coming to her defense made her look weak.
Well, when Hannity had a town meeting with Trump this week, the laughable thing about Trump is that he's being humorous instead of being gritty like he was when he was president. When Hannity asked him about him being a dictator, he said, just on the first day, I'll be a dictator. Yeah. I'm going to close the border and drill. That's it.
Yep, that's it. That's what we're going to
do. So he's playing this well with humor politically. Yeah. But I thought the most interesting thing to watch this week was the hearings with the 4 university presidents before Congress.
Yeah.
I mean, what was it? The University of Connecticut and a couple others. And interesting, all 4 presidents were women. Didn't you find that interesting?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Chris Christie pretty much remains the same. The former prosecutor, skilled debater who can deliver more scathing one-liners than anyone else on the stage. Called Ramaswamy the most obnoxious blowhard in America, and also sought to hold DeSantis' feet to the fire over what Christie contained was evasiveness, not only on the question of Trump's fitness for office, but on whether the Florida government would send U.S. troops in to try to rescue hostages held by Hamas. So, had that in there. So,
yeah, that made it interesting, and and the reason it is because in all these debates they really haven't discussed foreign policy really much. So.
Yeah,
that was the only part of it that I found interesting because of the particular problem that exists globally. And no one's come up with what I call the Biden chance, which is a war president.
Yeah.
We'll see when that rises.
Yeah.
It will rise, apparently, unfortunately. But that's the only way I see Biden continuing.
Well, Vivek Ramaswamy, the number of voters holding an unfavorable opinion of him has risen sharply in polls since the summer, and he likely spiked those polls Wednesday. A condescending attack against Haley, suggesting, at least metaphorically, that she couldn't tell the difference between the United States and Israel, even drew Christie to come to her defense, and that's why I say she weakened a little bit with the damsel in distress sort of situation. I think made her look weaker. Christie should have probably didn't help her by doing that, and in my opinion, anyway.
Well, the interesting aspect of all of this is the way this is shifting. Mm-hmm. And again, I will say, if the numbers are true with the polling of the African American minority and the Hispanic minority, bigger than the African minority, are moving right and towards Trump, he could win. Now, having said that, the biggest mistake politically in this cycle was DeSantis attacking Trump, because the golden ticket was Trump and DeSantis. There's no question, because you got to win Florida if you're a Republican to get elected.
Yeah.
Everybody says you got to win Ohio.
Ohio, yeah.
It used to be Ohio. Well, not anymore. You know, you've got to win Florida because of New York and California.
Yeah.
And you got to win those other 4 states, which includes Ohio.
Florida and Texas, you got to
break the blue wall that's been. And I was going to say, and then you have the cover with Texas. Texas is already in the bag. It's going to be Republican. But I mean, Florida is at, it's at question marks. But so these are the things I'm looking at to decide where your politics are heading in the next year. And I'm not sure that the economy may play that big a role. It didn't, 4 years ago, but maybe people have seen it change because of what they knew would happen if Trump got elected. They didn't know what would happen if Biden got elected. Well, now they know. It's like I said.
Yeah.
Better the devil you knew than the devil you didn't and now know.
That's true. Well, on January 16th, Trump's first trial is going to start. Eugene Carroll, I should say, defamation trial. He sort of badmouthed her after she won her.
No one cares.
I know, but whether more likely that will end in a fine of some kind for Trump, I think.
Look, no one cares.
I know they don't, but it's going to be in the court.
That's right. It's a bleeding effort by the Democrats, but it's going to go the same way that the bus comment that he made, or in 20 or 16, right? The comment he made about women, on the bus, and they looked again. The Democrats always overhit you, right? Yeah. It was in 2016. It was all about his personal life, all the women in his life, and no one cared.
Yeah.
Now it's all these indictments and charges, and everybody's looking at it. Yeah. Because as these things come up, like you're saying, everybody in your media starts covering them a little bit more and actually talking about what he's being accused of, and people are going, "What? It's no," and then people are laughing because no wonder our Constitution says you can run for office being in jail.
Yeah.
Well, that's not. It's great.
There you are. So
yeah.
Well, after that, on January 19th, there's going to be the marketing scam trial. In a lower profile civil case, 3 investigators attempted to bring a federal class action lawsuit against Trump over the endorsements on The Apprentice and elsewhere of a multi-level marketing company alleged to be a pyramid scheme. And the same lawyers representing Eugene Carroll are going to take this one on as well. So in October, a judge declined to certify the class, throwing the future of the case up in the air and likely narrowing any potential damages. So this is a nothing burger probably case. Transferred or dismissed, one of the other probably. So I don't think much is going to come out of that one.
And this is why it's enhancing his popularity.
Yeah.
I don't know why the Democrats don't see it. You think as a political issue they'd look at it. It's incredible to find out now that the Democrats have figured that connecting Biden with Bidenomics, probably wasn't a pretty good idea. It's like, didn't they have this, before people, what do they call those, where they get people together to determine if something is politically correct or not?
No.
Clearly they didn't, because now he's locked in on the economy directly, even closer than what Hunter's done. Meaning, if your economy has a recession in the next 6 months because they're ignoring the one you're in, or it worsens because they're all talking about being a soft landing, it's a big political win for the Republicans, because all people have heard from your president is Bidenomics. I'm great. This is my economy. Yeah. And unlike you, Tom, he thinks the president runs the economy.
Well, all right. Well, there you go. Well, on March 4th, we got another trial. We've got the 2020 election trial. This is the January 6th deal where they feel Trump interfered with the election, subverted it, name your adjective. And they're not going to delay the trial, even though that's going to be right into the beginning of the Super Tuesday and all of the other things that are going on with the. But anyway, Trump's immunity and double jeopardy defenses. Both sides have acknowledged Trump can appeal his presidential immunity and double jeopardy defenses before trial, but the judge rejected those arguments. But Trump on Wednesday brought the issue to the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals, and he also demanded that Shurkin not move ahead until his appeal is resolved. So that could take months. So this trial may not happen on March 4th.
All right. Well, here's my view of what you're referencing. First of all, January 6th is over. Tucker Carlson took the bullet. He released the video, and as a result of that, Fox had to fire him, basically, because of the lawsuit. Okay, they settled it. Number two, Trump comes along, and now people are looking at all this video, and the one guy that Democrats made the biggest issue about was the Viking, and his proud suit. He wasn't a proud boy, but he had a proud suit. He had the hat and the paint, and he sat down in the speaker's chair, and he would, and then when everyone saw the video, you can turn off the phone there, Thomas. And when they saw him sitting there, and he gets 6 years, and then 2 years into it, after the video's released, they let him out of jail. No one wants to talk that he's been let out of jail because of the video. Yeah. So again, as this gets closer, it's a win for Trump because of the video, 40,000 hours. I mean, it's astronomical that many hours of video of January 6th. So what are we left with? Well, you're left with this case in Georgia. Now, that one's going to be really interesting, and the only one that I'm interested in seeing, because I don't know that it'll even go to court. They go to court, and he starts being able to call up anybody that was involved in counting the ballots. It's like the case in New York that you didn't hear about. When he called, before it ended, or it's getting close to ending, before his defense rested, they called in bankers, that testified and so forth. That no one talked about it, and there was no harm. No harm, no foul. Isn't that what they say in sports? So the case that this judge said about valuing Mar-a-Lago at $18 million, it's over because they couldn't show any harm. They couldn't show anybody that was harmed by what they're accusing him of. The only harm is him paying more taxes because they're reevaluating his property, or him demanding money back because they say his property is worth less. So again, the Democrats picked the wrong things at the wrong time.
Yeah. Well, the next one's going to be March 25th, New York City. That's the one with Alvin Bragg and the 34 counts of falsifying business records over reimbursements he made to Michael Cohen, and also it gets into the hush money payments to the couple of gals. The federal 2020 election trial, beginning just 3 weeks earlier, the trial in Washington is supposed to extend past March 25th if it remains on the current schedule. So Trump's attorneys have noted the issue, and the judge has indicated he will assess the timing at a February 15th hearing. So that may be postponed. And the one after that, May 20th, that's the one with the 40 charges of allegedly mishandling classified records after leaving the White House. So the biggest obstacle there, the use of classified documents. The nature of the allegations require sorting out how to disclose classified materials during discovery and presentation to the jury. The thorny process is governed by the Classified Information Procedures Act, and Cannon has already pushed back various milestones closer to the May 20th date, and leading many experts to believe the trial will ultimately need to be delayed.
Okay, so here's my point of view about all of these trials that Trump's in. Real quick, take me less than a minute to tell you. You have a great legal system, and it's saved your republic over 200 years. It really has. So you have 5 Supreme Court justices that are conservative, and 3 Trump appointed, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So under the guise of process and procedure in your system of law, in a case like this, because it's a federal national issue with politics and involving an election, his lawyers will be able to go right directly to the Supreme Court on all of this. Now, the way that the process works is real quick. They go to one justice. Well, they've got 3 to pick, or they've got 5 to pick. Mm-hmm. So they go to one of the justices that they think will agree with them. That justice gets one other justice on the court to say, okay, we're going to hear this. And then the next Friday meeting, the entire court meets and decides that they're going to take it up. Well, they'll have to. The Supreme Court of the United States stayed out of the election of 20. They did nothing about the laws in states and the electors that were elected and the way states had made these decisions, because they didn't want to be looked upon as having to, have involved themselves in the election. I don't want to go there. We've talked about it since it happened.
All right.
But I am going there now to say I see the Supreme Court having to take this up simply for one reason. It's a year of a presidential election. He's running. He's the most likely person to get the nomination, and none of this should interfere with it. That's what so there you go.
All right. That wraps up for this segment. We will return with more right after the news, so don't go away. Welcome back, everyone. 7 minutes after the hour of 10 a.m. Mountain Time. It's Saturday. It's December 9th, 2023. It's the International Day of Anti-Corruption, Shane. I think we mentioned that earlier. So
yes,
that's all we've been talking about all day is government corruption. So,
I have one to talk about, because in a half an hour we're going to talk to someone else. So real quick, I keep talking about black swans. And
you might tell people what a black swan is.
A black swan is an event that no one expected that will affect the market or the economy. And my concern right now is Amazon. Okay, here we go, real quick. Market cap right now, the company's worth $1.5 trillion. It's trading at $147 a share. Now, no company since the 1920s first of all, in the 1920s, no company had 10.3 billion shares out and a public float of 9 billion shares. But the PE ratio on this company, in other words, earnings ratio or percentage of earnings ratio, is now at 76.9. No public company has had a PE ratio like this since the 1920s. Now, they didn't have the PE ratio analysis back in the 20s, during the roaring 20s in the market before the crash. But if you go back and look at the companies at that time, a lot of them were trading over 100 times earnings because of what was going on in the market. So anybody on television, on financial news, will tell you, you shouldn't really look at a company to buy that's more than 16 times earnings. This is 77 times earnings it's trading at. Now, you dig down into Amazon's numbers, and here's how bad it is. Amazon is losing $10 billion because of the cash flow and everything they have. They're able to write off billions in returned product, or product not even returned but allowed the person to keep, because it's not worth for them to return it. They can't resell it, so they just write it off as a tax loss. So this company is so badly run that even though they have this huge cash flow, which is remarkable, 53 million shares trade a day, only 86 million shares short on it. So that means in one day, a downside of this market will mean a collapse, because there's no short buying to support the stock. So you talk about the Magnificent Seven, you hear about it now all the time. All 7 stocks are like this. And I think it's important to bring this up to our listeners, only in the concern that I have for everybody that's invested in the market.
Okay, but we're at 36,000, a new high.
Yeah.
That we haven't seen in a long time, not since Trump was in office anyway.
Well, I still think that the Federal Reserve, because of the misery index being over 20%, we talked about, and I made a point of view in our second half hour. I think this coming week, the Fed will raise interest rates. I still expect at least a half point to even a 1 point raise, which the market isn't. They're saying, oh, no, the Fed's not going to raise rates anymore. They have to. 140,000 jobs created last, the number, you need 450,000 jobs a month created in your country just to be able to provide a job from people graduating from high school. So it's a bloated market, Thomas. I've been in the market since '72.
Seems like that. Seems like you're right. So.
Yeah, this is the 6th time I've seen this. Six times in my life. Well,
every 10 years we have a notable recession. Each recession we seem to come back stronger than we did before. But there's a limit to, 1929 we didn't come back all that quick. So.
Well, yeah, but there's 3 things about these recessions that are important. One, it's always been caused by something different. It's always worse than the last one, and nothing was done to prevent it again. So you've got
that's where we find ourselves. Yeah,
that's where we're at. Yeah.
Well, let's turn to one of Shane's favorite topics: electric vehicles. EVs sit on the market an average of 82 days versus 64 days for gas-powered vehicles. In response to slowing demand, Ford, GM are cutting production, and EVs are still too expensive for most people. With even government incentives, many of the surveys say. Electric vehicles, not all they're cracked up to be, Shane.
Well, not here, but, in other economies. Another great thing you heard this week is Apple is now literally moving their manufacturing to India because of what's going on in China. But the electric vehicle market in China is great because it's completely subsidized, and urban people in the cities are buying them, and there's tens of millions of people that buy them. But they've also are building all these coal plants to produce the electricity to charge them. Yeah. We've talked about this constantly for years. The problem with electric anything is your grid is at 110%. And everybody wants to cut it back. Nobody's doing anything to increase the amount of electricity your country produces. So, that's why I think that you should go off the grid as a state and set up your own nice little operation in Montana and buy back the Hungry Horse Dam.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I don't know, Shane. I guess we'll find out. But yeah, a lot of these companies are in trouble. They're they want to. They're looking for a cash cow, and EVs they thought might be that, but it isn't turning out that way. So,
No, not as a car, but
yeah.
I still say electric flying vehicles will change the world, and it'll save the capitalist economies of the world, because it'll be now a $3 trillion industry by 2050. And my numbers are low, and it will employ close to 700 million people. IT from Reagan to Clinton, in that 30-year process, I mean, you saw 40 or 50 million jobs created. But if you're talking globally, hundreds of millions of jobs created for this new industry. I could be wrong, but that's what I see can save a capitalist globe. And hopefully, because it's incredible technology. I keep sending you stuff about it, so you can comment now.
I know you do. I love reading fiction.
Yeah, I know. Except it's all true.
Oh well, we'll see. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I still look around. We're sitting right here we're sitting here at Wilson and Mendenhall in Bozeman.
There you are.
Almost the exact geographic center of Bozeman, give or take 3 or 4 miles. But yeah. But I'm looking across the street. There's the Armory. There's the 5 building behind us. There's a big hotel. There's the 101 building or 1101, whatever it is. And I'm thinking, where are all the people who are in those buildings going to plug in? I mean, so that it isn't the problem.
It's like
yeah.
But Thomas, it's like any city in your country. It doesn't matter what the politics are. Drive around any city. I do here. I mean, I walk everywhere. It's a funny thing, Cary Grant was asked once, what do you do to exercise? And he said, I climb stairs, meaning he doesn't take elevators. That's what he did. Mm-hmm. That was his response.
Yeah.
I walk everywhere. So I cross the main boulevard every 4 times a week. And I stand there while the light's changing, which is like, a 2-minute light. And I watch $500,000 to $1 million worth of cars go by.
Yeah.
Right? So, look. You drive through neighborhoods and you look at these homes, well kept or not, and you go, what do all these people do to afford this? So there's something that's right, and it's there, and we're all living within it, and the scope of it's phenomenal. And it's been the greatest opportunity mankind has ever seen. And I'm just looking for something that keeps it moving, keeps it going. That's all I'm talking about.
All right. Well, a coalition of more than 3,000 automakers nationwide sending an open letter to President Biden calling on him to tap the brakes on the aggressive electric vehicle push. The coalition, which includes dealers located in all 50 states and who collectively sell every major car brand, is taking particular aim at the Biden administration's tailpipe emission standards released earlier this year, which are the most aggressive federal regulations of their kind ever issued. So under the regulations proposed by the Environmental Protection Agency, the majority of new vehicle purchases will be electric within a decade. So I'm excited. How about you?
Maybe not. But the real reason that these 3,000 people are doing this is because 60% of their sales are used cars.
Yeah, that's true. And why is that? Because people are spending $11,400 more a year on stuff.
That's right. That's right. That's why I've always said for the last 6 years, if you're going to buy a used car that's less than 5 years old, and replace it every 2 years with a new car, because it's incredible. You go read and do a deep dive on used cars. Yeah. I mean, all these companies that'll take your car on the internet and sell it, and you can pick another one and buy it, and they'll deliver it and pick up your car. And
there we are.
So why not? Right?
Why would you go to the dealer at all?
That's right.
Well, one of the problems we see here, Shane, President Biden's $1 trillion infrastructure package included billions of dollars to fund an ambitious plan to construct 500,000 charging stations, but not yet has one been made 2 years later.
Right.
Not one has been put in.
And that money's just sitting there doing nothing but, collecting interest.
It's like the border
Uh-huh.
wall. It's just piled up there. Well, $7.5 billion for electric vehicle chargers, $5 billion for the so-called National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Formula Program, and another $2.5 billion in discretionary funds for charging and fueling infrastructure as part of a federal government's ambitious effort to expand EV ownership and reduce carbon emissions.
And we have to remind everybody, those numbers you just spoke to,
Yeah.
what department are they in? Department of Transportation.
Buttigieg, our favorite guy.
Mr. Mayor.
Well, so far of that those billions, only $101.5 million has been distributed for 7 state NEVI awards, and just 2 projects located in Columbus, Ohio, and Pennsylvania have begun construction, according to the Joint Office of Energy and Transportation. So, at the current pace, the $1 billion program designed to build a network of 500,000 chargers and award $5 billion in 5 years will fund a handful of projects and dish out just $250 million in that time frame. So,
There you go.
good luck getting your electric vehicle charged.
So my 20-second response to that is I always keep track of your executive branch departments that the president oversees. And right now, the 28 branches, based in his cabinet, but the principal branches, there's 18, 20 of them principal. They are sitting on, hold on to this, are you ready, everyone?
Yeah.
$15 trillion in cash they haven't spent.
Mm-hmm.
So that they could literally wipe out 50% of your debt.
Yeah.
If they just returned it to the Treasury.
We can't do that. What if we need it? Jeez. Well, to compound everything else, the Congressional Budget Office estimated on Friday that the federal budget deficit reached $383 billion in the past 2 months, Shane. Just 2 months. $383 billion in 2 months. The nonpartisan budget scorekeeper estimated that the government racked up a deficit of $317 billion in November, which is $68 billion higher than the deficit recorded during the same period last year, and $250 billion higher than the deficit reported by the Treasury Department in October. So,
here we go.
We're spending money. It's an election year.
That's right. Tom and Shaky got another gold star. Because of these amazing deficits that your government's creating, they're raising 4.4 trillion. They're at 6.1 trillion in spending, is because they're now having to have 2 auctions a week by the Treasury Department of debt on Tuesday and Thursday because no one's buying it. Like 20 to 30% is all. That's all that's being taken down. And again, you get back to that. What are we talking about? The Treasury Index. A 30-year bond right now is getting 4.3% bought out of the market. 20-year bond is 4.4%. So why would you buy a bond from the government paying you 0.005?
Yeah.
So there you go, folks. Simple answers to big questions.
There you are. Well, if you're wondering where this money went, Silicon Valley Bank, ring a bell?
Yeah.
The first $63 billion increases in outlays for the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, a top bank regulator that it credited to facilitating the resolution of bank failures that occurred in 2023. So we had 3 or 4 bank failures, I think, there, Shane. Silicon Valley being the one most commonly referred to. So.
Well, that's because it caught the angel investors. They lost. And those are people that invest first in projects and deals that eventually go public.
Yeah.
And it caught a lot of major corporations because they were invested in that bank as well.
Yeah.
And guess what? A lot of them put their money in there because this bank had what? U.S. debt.
Yeah.
So they thought they were okay.
No problem.
The problem was they couldn't sell the U.S. debt to cover their costs.
Yeah.
And it goes back to what we saw in 06, 07, 08.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the debt was in tech stocks, and a lot of people were nervous about tech stocks at the time. So those
and they didn't want to sell those.
They didn't want to get rid of them. Well, we can also slam the Federal Reserve. The agency also highlighted a 65% increase in net outlays for interest on the public debt from the previous year, which it noted was due largely to interest rates being significantly higher than they were during the 2-month period last year. So,
it's again, a simple answer to this is that the balance sheet of the Fed is so great. That they're still sitting on 12 trillion of U.S. debt themselves, which makes them the biggest winner of interest of U.S. debt that then gets circled back to the Treasury. So they end up being the largest payer of money to the Treasury than anyone being taxed. So excuse me, I hope I could say this, but what did we call that in college? A circle jerk?
Yeah.
That's what we're looking at.
Well, we can't leave seniors like you and I out, Shane. 12%.
No, please.
Social Security benefits increased 12%. And Medicare and Medicaid increased 17% and 1% respectively. And 13% increase in spending on defense because we are funding Ukraine. So
that's right. And what's your call on Biden? If he stays in the election, do you think he sends out another bonus check to everybody on Social Security?
We've had two rate increases there, so I doubt.
No, not the rate increase, but remember 3 years ago when he leaned into the microphone and said, "I sent you that."
Yeah, right.
Remember, anyone on Social Security, I think they got a $2,000 or $3,000 check.
Yeah, something
because
like
of COVID.
That. So anyway, yeah. Well, in other important news, we've got to talk about a federal judge on Friday blocked the federal government from separating families solely as part of border enforcement policy for the next 8 years, stopping any potential return to the short-lived zero-tolerance policy of 2018. So the decision came as part of a settlement between families who were separated during that period and the Justice Department.
So that shows you how your justice system works. 5 years to get to someone to come to this situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the Hunter investigation. 5 years. Whoa, it's a bonus number, Thomas.
Yeah. Well, once again, I will give the 3 reasons why children are separated from their families at the border. The first one is that the child someone has to prove the child accompanying, or the adult accompanying the child is a legal guardian or parent, that it's not a child trafficker that's bringing them across to sell them into slavery or prostitution. Second one is that we have to make sure that the child is not being abused by the parent or guardian and or the person accompanying the child. And the third thing is that the adult accompanying the child, we need to make sure that that person is not wanted by the law in either their country or the United States of America. So those 3 reasons are why kids are separated from their parents until it's for the children's safety, not because, anybody's being mean to anybody, but it's to protect the kids. So there we are. It's that simple.
Well done, Eagle Man.
Yeah, I thought I got that. Well, a federal judge has also blocked TikTok in Montana. Montana TikTok ban, which was originally signed into law by Republican Greg Gianforte in May, was blocked by a federal judge on Thursday. The ban, the first such statewide legislation restricting use of the video platform, was set to begin on January 1st. SB 419 oversteps state power and infringes on the constitutional rights of users and businesses, Judge Donald Malloy wrote in a preliminary injunction. So I don't know. I have various thoughts about TikTok. I don't use it. I'm not on it. I get a ton of stuff from people who are on it, both on Facebook and my phone and everywhere else. But I've just decided it's, I got enough problems with Facebook and Instagram and whatever else I have,
Well,
Twitter and everything else.
But this is part of your war with China. Look,
Yeah.
TikTok, whatever, the algorithm should be provided to the U.S. government. China demanded everybody else's technology for them to build or do anything. They had to give it up. So there you go.
Yeah.
China gets it. We want it from them for TikTok, and they won't give it up.
Yep.
Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. We got to go.
All right. Well, we don't have to go permanently. We're just going for a break at the bottom of the hour. So, all right. Hey, we're going to be talking with Rick Holden, who's running for Congress, and we'll be chatting with him. He's over in Glendive. He'll be joining us by phone. Not going to take any calls because when I have these candidates on, I want to make sure they can make all their points and we don't get bogged down on some one issue thing and it takes up the whole time. So hold your calls. You can text message me if there's something that you want to cover. And we'll be right back with Rick Holden right after this. Welcome back, everyone. 27 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Saturday. It's December 9th, 2023. And we're happy to have Rick Holden on the line with us. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Tom, it's a great day. And I guess we're where we are where Montana talks.
Yeah. Well, the reason we wanted to have you on is you're running for the Eastern congressional seat.
Yep.
As I understand it. And tell us a little bit for the listeners who may not be familiar with you. You're in Glendive, is that right?
Yeah, sort of. I'm actually a farmer and rancher in Dawson County, so I live about 20 miles upriver from Glendive on the Yellowstone River. Our place is right on the banks of the Yellowstone River. Mm-hmm. And I was also a state senator in Helena for 8 years. And I served on the Agriculture Committee, Judiciary Committee, and the Transportation Committee. And so we're lifelong farmers and ranchers deeply involved in agriculture, which is, of course, Montana's number one industry. We are a farm state.
Yeah, that's for sure. So what was the trigger that got you involved in, you're sitting there watching TV some night and you say, holy smokes, I got to do something about this. This just can't go on.
Yeah, so in 2002, when my Senate term ended, I made a clean break from politics. My kids were just getting into high school, and I could see that if I didn't stay home and raise these kids, I was going to miss everything that they were doing in high school. And so I made a clean break. I stepped away from it. And just like what you're saying, Tom, you sit and you turn on the news, watch TV, and you see thousands of people coming across the border, for example, just disobeying all of our laws, breaking through barriers to get in here, and that of course is terrible. And then we've got, like I mentioned before, we're a Montana farm state, yet when it comes to agricultural representation in Washington, D.C., we've got none. So we need some congressmen and senators that are elected to go to Washington, D.C., and get on the full House or Senate committees. And so what I can do as a farmer and rancher with practical knowledge of the agricultural industry, I can run for that position, and that would be one of my top priorities is to get on the House Ag Committee. Yeah. And that way we can participate. We can have Montana's voice as part of the discussions when it comes to the Farm Bill and things like that. The other thing, look at what this inflation has done to our dollars. So we get a nice price this fall for calves and for lambs. We raise both, and now the inflation rate comes along and it eats up everything that we worked hard to try and produce. And the inflation rate is actually a misery index at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A question from one of our listeners, Rick, is the takedown of the dams, the Snake River, the Columbia, the overreach, I guess, by the BLM, the EPA, and everybody there. We've kind of counted on those, and I think at one point we sold all our dams at one point, didn't we? Somewhere way back when.
Are you talking about on the Snake River?
Yes, yeah.
Well, it don't really matter to me. I don't understand the concept of tearing out our dams because they're either generating electricity and providing irrigation for the area so we can grow food for this country, or provide much needed electricity. We always need more electricity, not less. And eastern Montana is actually a linchpin in the whole national economy when it comes to energy production, because I know those of your listeners that are in the Gallatin Valley don't fully probably understand that clear over here next to the North Dakota border in eastern Montana, we've got 9,000 years of coal reserves. That's what the geologists have told us clear back in 1990. They said we had 9,000 years, and we're just not using it now. Mm-hmm. And we have oil. We have thousands of barrels of oil sitting under eastern Montana that's not tapped into. And then on top of that, we have natural gas. And this all complements our agricultural industry here in eastern Montana. So everything that we have to offer to the national economy and to our own economy here in Montana is not getting used, and the liberals just seem to enjoy the idea of demonizing everything we're doing out here.
Well, we've got the president, is on the EV kick. Let's get rid of fossil fuels in every possible situation that we can. And, when, as you point out, we've got, we're the treasure state. We've got all these natural resources here, but so much of it is federal land that, drilling on it requires almost an act of Congress or God or somebody.
Yeah. Well, this economy and the inflation rate is going to all turn around if we can once again start developing energy in this country and become energy independent the way we were when President Trump was in charge of that outfit back there. So I'm going to support the president in doing what he needs to do to lift those restrictions so we can start drilling oil. Let's just step back in history. Let's look back in the let's just say roughly before 1860, our economies across the world were really generated on agriculture production. Then you move forward after the Civil War, and the countries that could develop and use industrial manufacturing became the world powers, and they had the economies that were thriving. You move forward after World War II, and we brought massive production to the United States because all of the economies in Europe were shattered and blown to pieces. But now when you look at today's worldwide economy, it's whoever has the ability to become energy independent and generate electricity, for example, or have coal and oil, those are the economies that thrive. So those are the things we have in Montana, but yet the liberals are preventing those things from moving forward to provide the economy that we need to create new jobs for our kids here at home.
Yeah. I don't know, Rick, with the new president, whether the Keystone Pipeline can be reinvigorated, but that would produce $90 million of property taxes paid by Canada to some of the poorest counties where you live in that eastern Montana area. So I don't know if that thing is dead or not. I know Canada. Shane's been mentioning that they're going to the West Coast. With a pipeline in Canada.
Well, I don't know if it would change. They've been so beat around now on that Keystone Pipeline, but I can tell you that Dawson County, where I live, we lost out on $21 million because of the Democrat policies. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'll tell you another quick story. You look at you just mentioned that President Biden was attacking energy development in the form of these electricity generated through coal. So people really don't know this in other parts of the state, I've found. But in Sidney, Montana, we had a great electrical coal-fired generation plant. Sat right on the south edge of Sidney, Montana, and only about 15 miles down the road at Savage, Montana, we had a coal mine, open strip mine, that generated about 25 jobs. They loaded the coal up, drove down the highway over to Sidney, took it to the electrical generation plant, and they were generating electricity for the oil, the Bakken oil fields in North Dakota, eastern Montana, and then, of course, all of the area around here. We use that electricity for our homes and farming operations. So President Obama came in, and he attacked coal, and he wrote an executive order to dismantle the plant in Sidney. But he didn't get it done in time before President Trump got in office. So President Trump came in office, and the first thing he did is he tore it up. He tore up the executive order that would dismantle it. But you always hear about the things that presidents have on their desk for the first day that they're in office. And the first thing that President Biden had on his desk was to go ahead and tear down the electrical plant in Sidney. And they did. And you can go to Sidney now, where that plant was. They blew the stack to pieces. They dismantled everything. There's nothing left. We will never be able to generate electricity there. All there is a flat, grassy weed patch. Nothing. There are no jobs there anymore. The coal mine is not operational. We're not getting electricity. And I know earlier in your program, you said we need more electricity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing exactly what I believe it was Shane said. We're producing less energy in the form of electricity when we need more.
Well, that's where we find ourselves. You know, as I say, I don't know how you're going to get all these charging stations. We just had a segment, Shane and I talked about $7 billion, and no charging stations have been built in 2 years since that money was appropriated. So, you know, it's hard for us out here, just the common man, to look at government and their spending and above all the waste they do and have confidence. You know, that's why we keep looking to people like you to, you know, go and bring common sense to the floor of the House.
Well, you know, that's the thing. When you come from an agricultural background, we are practical people in Montana. Those of us that are out on the land every day working to produce food for this nation, we have to look at all these things in a practical manner, because Mother Nature is a very harsh disciplinarian for us. Yeah. And so we can't sit in our houses and our office buildings and have these fancy ideas that aren't going to really work, because we know that in eastern Montana we have to do things that do work. Our climate is such that we can't be lackadaisical about this sort of thing. So common sense has to play in on all of these issues, or we just don't survive. You mean my parents and my grandparents, I should go back further, they were homesteaders. On both sides of my family, homesteaders. Mm-hmm. And just like thousands of Montanans, we were brought into this country under the Homestead Act. And you go and look at where these homesteads took place, and there was just flat prairie grass. How they ever made it, I don't know. But the reason they did make it was they were practical thinking people, and they raised practical thinking families, and that's why eastern Montana is great like that. And actually it even goes over into Gallatin Valley, too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are the things? I know agriculture is your main focus, because that's half of our. Well, it's half the of the state is agricultural, at least, except for the mountain parts. But what do you see besides agriculture as what you would want to bring to Washington?
Yeah. All right. Well, first of all, on day one, I'll do everything I can to help our new president shut that southern border off. That's immediate. Mm-hmm. I mean, we need to get that southern border shut down. And if Texas is doing everything they can I mean, they're just getting constantly sued. Every time they do something, they get sued. So they can't do anything to stop this flow of people coming in on them. And so I think what we're going to have to do is we're probably going to have to bring the military in under the president's executive order and restore order down there, because it's chaos. And all those people that are coming through, the drugs and the cartels and stuff, they're funneling into Billings. And now we've got law enforcement authorities are reporting all of the drug cartels setting up camp there in Billings, and they're shipping all that garbage out into the rest of our counties over here. So that has to stop right away. I mean, we just can't wait any longer. 2 more years, and I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine the mess we're going to be in by that time. Mm-hmm. Because the Democrats tell us that that's okay. That's a good policy. And so we know they're not going to do anything to change it, so it's left up to us. So the other important thing is I want to make sure that I get to the House leadership and get placed on the full House Agriculture Committee, because, of course, that is going to really play into how prosperous we are here in eastern Montana, is if we have a strong governmental ag policy that complements the northern plains, and we don't have that now. So those are some of the things. There of course, there's other. We're not always just going to talk about agriculture.
Sure.
There's other things that are important to Montana.
Well, the other thing regarding the border, Greg Abbott, as you know, put up barriers, and the federal judges made him take them down, try to keep people from coming across. He put the floating barriers there. Yeah. And it seems like our judicial system is hampering the border more than anything else. And I don't want to dwell on the border, for the time we've got here. But if you're just joining us, we're talking with Rick Holden, Dawson County, running for the Congress, House of Representatives. And we hope you will find out more about him and support him. And I guess the other thing is that the House seems to be in disarray. we got rid of Santos, censured. They censured the guy from the fire alarm, and there's talk they're going after Matt Gaetz. The House doesn't seem to be. The Democrats vote lock and step, but it seems like the Republicans are just. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there anyway.
Well, it's the same way when I was in Helena in the state Senate. When you look at both of the parties up there, basically what you're looking at is one party is told what to do, how to do it, and how to vote. And I don't understand it, but they do. And the other party that I was part of is the Republican Party. And we're individual thinkers. And so that kind of gets in the way at times. And so when you see what's going on in Washington, D.C., it's because we are actually individual thinkers, and we don't just lockstep move along with whatever anybody has to say. And so there's going to be some more, obviously with that kind of a mentality, there's going to be some more pushback on what leadership might tell you to do, for example. So, but those things always seem to go in cycles. So I think by the time the next set of elections come around, this is going to probably just settle down, and people are going to rethink all of this, and things are going to. I think things are going to settle down, and they're going to have to, because they have to get back to business, and they have to look at what this inflation rate is doing to our people and our young people. I mean, I have to say, when I was 29 years old and I was buying my first ranch with my wife, I thought I could do it. I mean, I really thought I could do it and purchase the land. Now, when I look at the cost of the land and the property, I have to say to myself, I don't know, with agricultural land worth thousands of dollars per acre and things like that. So that means that those of us that are elected leaders have to think about how this is going to affect the future and stop worrying about ourselves so much in the present, but think about what is going to be best for our kids coming along later.
Rick, if I may, I have a question I'd like to ask you. It's in regards to the fact you're an insurance adjuster. So I'm a numbers guy, and I have a real concern about what I'm about to ask you. Incredible country. The prosperities are remarkable. Every week, sports show us that. You see these stadiums and people cheering their teams on. $1 trillion industry, no question. My concern is insurance annuity. As I said, an insurance adjuster, aren't you concerned that it's because this is an unregulated equity or insurance annuities are unregulated, but provide the benefit of wealthy people, for the sake of argument, to pay the $50 to $100 million salaries to players that they do. They put $500 million in an annuity. The insurer will provide anywhere from 10 to 20% return on it, and they set up for 10 years to pay that guy's contract, which is why billionaires own teams. Don't you think there should be some regulation with regard to this, or there should be some government overview of insurance annuities?
Well, I am not an executive. I am the low boy on the totem pole when it comes to insurance, the insurance industry. I'm actually the guy that has to go out and look at that house that burned to the ground and try and determine how many sticks of 2x4s it's going to take to rebuild it. That is my job. That's my off the farm job, to try and make this outfit run. So when it comes, I'm not really sure specifically what is your question, and how would that relate to a federal policy? What is it you're actually getting at?
Well, I think that in the downturn in the economy, one of the issues becomes this massive $1 trillion insurance annuity industry to pay for your sports across the country, all of them. And it's unregulated, and it's something Congress, I think, should be concerned about.
They sure seem to make a lot more than they ought to, because I've always thought that whatever you're doing for a company, doesn't matter what it is, but whatever you're doing, you should be contributing more to the company than what, basically whatever you're putting into it. You need to be producing something for your employer. And like you say, when you talk about these board of directors that are getting these millions and millions of dollars, I got to wonder, really, if that particular person is really enhancing the profitability of that firm or that insurance company, as in your example.
My example was the $50 million to $100 million contracts. Players individually are being paid, and how the billionaires managed to come up with the money to pay these, $200 million 10 years. Oh, Tom wants us to go on.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Rick. Appreciate you joining the show.
Well, we're not leaving you yet. I'm just, we've got about a minute and a half left, Rick. I wanted to give you time for any last words you might have for anybody out there who isn't familiar with you and would like to know more about you.
Okay. So if you don't get anything else from this, just know this, that Rick Holden is an agricultural producer in Montana, and I will be the only congressional candidate in this race that represents agriculture, that has a real working knowledge of that industry, which is our number one industry. And Main Street, Montana, depends on that ag dollar coming in from the country. And so we are all linked together, but a linchpin is going to be our agriculture economy and how that's going to affect every single job inside of Billings, Helena, and Great Falls, the major cities in the Eastern District, and also Bozeman, because part of Eastern Montana goes into the Gallatin Valley every day to work, and those ag dollars help out. So if you want to know more about Rick Holden, you can also go to our website, which is easy. It's just Holden for Montana. Or you can go to Facebook, go to Rick Holden. On Facebook, you can see all sorts of posts about the ranch and various things that we do all the time. But we're not all that fancy. We're in the phone book. I mean, I'm in the phone book. Been in the phone book for 50-plus years. So if you really want to talk to me, just crack a phone book.
All right.
Call me.
Well, thanks so much, Rick, for being with us. We're up against the top of the hour, so we've got to go. But thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for the information. We appreciate it.
You bet. You bet. We'll see you guys later.
All right, take care. Say goodbye, Shane.
I will indeed be happy to be safe. Thank you very much, Thomas. And as I always say, live in the moment, because that's what we have, moments and seconds in this life, and live to work. Get up every day and look forward to the job that you're going to do. Make your family happy to see you when you come through the front door. And Merry Christmas, everyone, because we're in the season. Thank you, Thomas.
All right. Merry Christmas from me, too. And that's going to wrap it up for us. Thanks, Shane. Thanks for Rick Holden for being with us. And I am out of here.